Welcome to the Mainstream Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Merle.
And I'm Larry.
Kind of jumped in there.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, kind of excited about this episode, aren't you?
Well, kinda, yeah.
We got a good show for you today. Going to be talking about demon possession.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff on demon possession.
Yeah, there's more than what you can ever count on. Right?
Yeah, so we're just going to be getting into a little bit of this today.
And we're not experts by no means. We're just going by what we know, what we've read, and I'm not going to say personal experiences because I've never been possessed.
No, I've never been possessed.
But we're just going to go by like what, when I say personal experience, I mean what we've kind of encountered as far as literature and stuff we've heard and everything
Right.
like that. That's what I mean.
It kind of makes me think about, when we got that email that time.
Oh, about the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was more probably drugs than...
I think you're right. And plus that was just way too soon when we first started up our thing that we got hit like that.
Yeah.
So it could have been the guy was on drugs or it could have been a prank. We don't know.
Right.
So.
Oh, but demon possession. I've got to actually get my research here. I think that's this research.
Yeah. Now, you're going to hear me kind of argue a good bit about this. And there's a lot of things that I've read that are kind of contradictory to some of the stuff we're going to mention.
Right.
There's going to be things I don't believe, but that's just an opinion of one person. So it's not fact. They say a demon possession is a state in which one or several demonic spirits have gained access to an individual and then proceed to take full control of the person's will. In such a condition, the demonic spirits uses the body of the individual to express its personality and have them carry out evil content. Now, there's the issue with that statement. It's not always an evil content. It's just to gain control of the person's body, their soul, and to have a place on earth. It's a vessel.
Right.
Granted, a lot of people have claimed like they're crazy when they commit a murder to get out of it. Some people have said that they were possessed to get out of a murder charge or something like that. I don't personally believe it's to do evil intent, but I do believe that a demon does possess a person's body to claim its soul and to walk on earth as we do. To walk among us.
Because an actual demon has never stepped foot on earth.
Exactly. By right, they can't.
Right.
So the only way they can is by
Through a
taking
vessel.
over our form.
Right.
That's the only way.
See, and that kind of makes you think, because, people claim they see demons and stuff like that,
Right.
Heck, I was watching a video the other day. They thought they seen this creature in their basement. It looked like a demon. But, like we said, demons cannot walk on earth
Right.
without a vessel. So that it kind of goes side by side. They could have. It does not have to be a human
Right.
that they possess.
Yeah, it could be an animal.
Right.
So, but with an animal, it could be misconstrued as rabies or
Exactly.
something like that.
Right.
Because rabies gives the same kind of temperament.
Right.
Certain animals with brain tumor
Uh-huh.
can cause it to have the same kind of temperament. So, but yeah, God, when He cast the angels out, the fallen ones,
Mm-hmm.
He made it where no fallen angel could walk on His creation. So the only place they have is underground to dwell.
Right.
Some people call it hell. Some people call it purgatory. It's got a lot of different names.
Right. And that goes back to, the Garden of Eden. You know, Lucifer or the devil came back as
A serpent. Yeah. That's the only way it could be on earth.
Right.
And then when he also tempted Jesus and told him, look, if you forget everything, bow before me, I'll give you this kingdom, I'll give you this, stub your toe, and he was tempting him all, those days out in the desert. He wasn't exactly in his true form. He was in the body of another person
Right.
because he can't walk on this earth. And that's one reason you always read or hear of accounts in this subject that we're talking about where he always has somebody do his bidding or his work for him because he can't do it himself.
Right.
He cannot physically be on this planet. So,
See, that also comes back with, people saying poltergeists or demons. A demon physically cannot do anything without a form.
right. Now, poltergeist, it can manifest the energy
Right.
to do something, but it physically cannot, like, walk around.
Right.
Say like this drink I'm sitting on the our desk here. It could probably build up enough energy to like hurl it, but it can't walk through that door.
Right.
So
Guess we need to give a little bit more information before I start talking about what I was going to talk about.
we could do that in our next segment. Poltergeist.
Well, I wasn't going to talk about actual
okay.
poltergeist. I had something to go along
Oh, okay.
with this, but demons in possession, they say Satan or a demon enters and takes over physical, mental capabilities of the victim. It says, however, the soul and will remains free. There's kind of a contradiction there,
Yeah.
like you were talking about. Satan acts through victims without the victim's consent. Thus, the victim is morally blameless. Satan does not act alone when he possesses an individual. He works side by side with many evil spirits, such as the spirits of
Lust, hate, destruction, suicide, revenge, anger, anxiety, desperation, death, torment, and etc. It also says this example is found in Luke 8:30, the case of the man possessed in the territory of Gerasenes. I think I pronounced that right. And it says, you want to read that verse for us?
Yeah, it says, and Jesus asked him, saying, what is thy name? And he said, Legion, because many devils were entered into him.
Now,
And that comes straight from the King James
Yeah.
version.
Now, going back to all those examples, from what they're saying, and I don't know where they're getting their information. From what they're saying, every example there, that means 90% of the world population is possessed. If that's what they're saying. Because people have lust, they have depression, they have hate. Some people are angry. A lot of people have anxiety. Some people get get tormented. Now, torment to me in this is a totally different thing.
Right.
Because that could be like being bullied, by somebody else or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's possession. I just think that's mean people. I
Right.
mean, that's just plain and simple. But I don't agree with that, because I could sit there and say a person that picks, flowers is possessed because they're destroying the world.
I thought you were going to say pick their nose.
I mean, it just,
Yeah.
that's too much labeling.
Right. Which, I mean, you have a couple in there as far as the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
There wasn't, and if you look at them, there wasn't all of them either.
No.
And people, have said that 7 deadly sins are each its own demon.
Right. Gluttony and all that.
Wrath and
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, it could, but who knows?
Right. Got descriptions of demonic possession often include erased memories or personalities, convulsions, fits, and fainting, as if one were dying. Other descriptions include access to hidden knowledge and foreign languages, drastic changes in vocal,
Intonation.
and facial structure, the sudden appearance of industries, scratches and bite marks, or lesions, and superhuman strength.
Don't mean to correct you, brother, but it's injuries and industries.
What did I say?
Industries.
Man. All right, injuries. I'm sorry.
We need new glasses.
I just got some. Unlike in channeling or other forms of possession, the subject has no control over the possessing entity, and so it will persist until forced to leave the victim, usually through a form of exorcism.
That I do kind of go along with. There's been many cases that are documented where a person is possessed, where they do have the lesions, bite marks from nowhere, scratches that don't make sense.
Right.
And it's not the person scratching himself, because it could be like multiple scratches in threes.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a reason it does that in threes. It's not like four claw marks. It's 3 claw marks. The superhuman strength for no reason. Most time they've proved that when you get a really high surge of adrenaline in your body, that's the reason people can pick cars off of a family or loved ones that's been pinned under it. But a case like this, no, because there's no endorphin rush.
Right.
Most time when you're possessed, you're either incapacitated, laying, or you're binded to a bed or somewhere. And that's for your safety and everybody else's. Also, the vocal intonations and the facial structures, there's been documented cases where that changes too. And even the person's the face will contort. It can look like the skin is so dried up it almost looks skeletonized. Can look like a person's just been beating the crap in back. And the person's voice, the person may not even know German. And I use that for example for something else that we're going to talk about.
Right.
And yet the person can speak fluent German or some other language, even a dead language
Right.
that nobody knows. And they're like, they're trying to figure it out. And it's all because of the entity that's in them. It says man is in various ways subject to the influence of evil spirits. By original sin, he brought into himself captivity under the power of him who thence the time of Adam's transgression had the empire of death, that is to say, the devil. And it was from the fear of death all of his lifetime subject to servitude.
That's actually Hebrews 2:15, which in the King James Version says, and deliver them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage.
So, I just, as far as possession goes, that is a wide range. A lot of people think that you can get possessed willingly, voluntarily, and involuntary. We'll put it in that two categories.
Okay.
As far as voluntary, that's when you're like, the only way I can say this, and a lot of people are going to get offended, is you're stupid. I mean, I don't know anybody that would voluntarily want to go through a living hell of being possessed.
Right. No.
It makes no sense because from all the research that I've read on possession, your body goes through so many changes. It gets ripped to shreds. You pretty much starve to death. And if you do eat, it's not healthy stuff you're eating. It's spiders and flies and insects of kind of crazy amount. And involuntary is if you're pure of heart and the entity attacks you to drive you away from your faith with God.
Right.
And that right there will bring you either a lot closer to God, because you're looking for Him to help get this entity out of you. So it just strengthens your faith, which kind of goes back to Job in a way, because the devil took everything away from Job to get him to quit being so faithful to God. So he took everything away. But instead of Job saying, you know what, I'm done with it, I'm not going to pray anymore, it just made his faith stronger.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. A possessed individual is typically characterized by having strange physical ailments or disfigurements, verbal outbursts, mostly obscene or sacrilegious in nature, violent behavior or vulgar behavior, bodily spasms and contortions, ability to speak languages, like we said before, that have never been studied, or never before studied, self-mutilation, superhuman abilities such as psychic abilities, abnormal strength, or the ability to perform behaviors out of the realm of human possibility, such as levitation, cessation of normal bodily functions for periods of time, including breathing and heartbeat. I mean, I'm not like that. I'm not saying that all that psychics are possessed,
Right.
and I'm not saying I believe in psychics. I'm not saying there's no real psychics either.
Right.
So I mean, it's just I'm just saying that just because they're psychic doesn't mean they're possessed.
No. Now, I almost kind of made a joke, and I know this isn't a funny subject at all, but it says physical elements of disfigurements, verbal outburst, mostly obscene and sacrilegious in nature. Person with Tourette's.
Right, yeah.
I mean, that's dead on for a person with. They're not sacrilegious, but
The verbal outbursts.
yeah, the verbal outbursts and the disfigurements, and also like the body spasms.
Right.
That could be linked to Tourette's. And if you had Tourette's, say back in the old days, when, say, the 1800s pilgrims,
Mm-hmm. Right.
you could be pronounced as being possessed just when you have a natural ailment like Tourette's.
Right.
So, I mean, there's been, I guess you would say, a handful of actual true documented possessions. So, I don't know where a lot of the information comes on the signs, the symptoms, I guess all the symptoms do link to the same thing, but I don't see how beforehand everybody got their information. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. So, another thing that it says is another phenomena associated with the presence of a demon included and stench like acid, marked decrease in the temperature of the room which a possessed individual accompanies, writing appearing out of nowhere, sounds and voices rising from nowhere, and objects moving on their own, which goes back to what you were saying a minute ago about poltergeist.
Right.
And destruction of objects in a room without anyone having laid a hand upon them. Okay, let's kind of talk about that a little bit. The sounds and voices from nowhere. There's been a lot of documented cases with possession where they hear moaning and screaming and just like torment just in that one room. It's not coming from anywhere else but that one room. Also, like with dogs and cats, how like they sound when they're in pain, the yipping,
Yeah.
And you could hear animal sounds and you don't know where it's coming from, but it's in that one room. You can walk out of that room and you won't hear it. You go back in that room, you'll hear it. Temperature drop. You and I have come across places where we felt the temperature drop in
Yes.
one room.
Right.
Now that's just a sign of something, a spirit or something being in there, drawing
to pull,
energy.
trying to pull the energy from the room.
So I wouldn't go as far as possession on that one, but as far as the acid smell, it's sulfur.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is highly linked with the possession. Let's see here. There's a lot of things listed as the army of Satan, and for reasons, we're just not going to name any of that, because I personally feel like if you name any of that, you're giving it energy, you're giving it power.
Right.
So if you want to know on any of that, we suggest you do your own research on that one. But there are many fallen angels and demons and everything, and not a fallen angel is a demon either. It's like on a ladder, you have like an employee, you have a manager, you have a boss, you have a CEO, you have the president, and it kind of falls in that kind of category.
Right.
So like a demon is an underling to a fallen angel. It's like their servant.
Right. Yeah.
So
And that's one thing you'll never hear us say one of the fallen angels' names.
nope, never. We're not gonna give any credence to any of that.
Now there's you got an area of cases of possession, all throughout the Bible.
Yep.
I mean, you can look through, First Samuel and Matthew, Luke, and Acts, and like we had Hebrews and stuff like that.
Matthew and Luke and Mark.
So I mean, all throughout the Bible, you have cases of possession.
Yeah.
I mean, we could list them, but it would take us for a while, And this isn't a religious podcast, so we're not going to go into depth on that.
Even though my personal belief is I do believe in God. I'm just not gonna lay credence.
Right. That's still part of it, I mean, you could give a couple, Matthew 12:22. Then was offered to him one possessed with a devil, blind and dumb, and he healed him so that he spoke and saw.
Yep. Let's see here. There's one. Luke 4:33 through 36. In a synagogue there was a man who had been had an unclean devil, and he cried out with a loud voice, saying, "Let us alone. What have we to do with thee, Jesus of Nazareth? O thou come to destroy us. I know thee, who art thou, the Holy One of God." And Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Hold thy peace, and go out of him." And when the devil had thrown him into the midst, he went out of him, and hurt him not at all. And there came fear upon him, and they talked among themselves, saying, "What word is this? For the authority and the power he commandeth the unclean spirits, and they go out."
Okay. How do people get possessed by demons? Demonic spirits are also referred to as evil spirits and depicted in the Bible as fallen angels.
These angels who took the side with Lucifer in his rebellion against God, and that's in Revelations 12:4.
Specialists in this area of demonology have categorized the state of demonic possessions into two groups: demonic oppression and complete demonic possession.
Yep. The demonic oppression is said to be a mild to severe harassment by demonic spirits, which often comes as a result of doors that have been opened in an individual's life through voluntary sin, which leads to manipulation in different areas of the person of that life by the evil spirits.
And complete demonic possession, on the other hand, is a state in which one or several demonic spirits have gained access to the body of an individual and then proceeds to take full control over the person's will. In such a condition, the demonic spirit uses the body of an individual to express its personality and carry out its evil intent. Like we said before, we have different opinions on that. So how do demons enter?
The demonic spirits gain access into the life of an individual through what is known as a doorway. A doorway is a vulnerable area in the person's life that becomes open to the access of evil spirits, whether through voluntary or involuntary means. These doors can be different level of involvement, say like with the occult, traumatic occurrences, taking drugs, generalizational curse, and different situation which triggers intense negative emotional responses. All right, for demonstration or example purposes on this one, let's go back to voluntary. Voluntary is, going into an occult. You're asking for it. That's
Right.
voluntary. Asking, and some people get to a point in their life where they hit all-time low, and they're like, I'll give my soul, for, whatever.
Right.
That's voluntary. There's a whole bunch of things listed here. I'm not going to go through because some of them I don't believe are voluntary forms of possession. But, like I said, messing with the occult, Ouija boards,
Tarot card.
tarot cards, stuff like that. Yeah, that's a good way of doing it. That's voluntarily opening up a doorway for problems if you don't know what you're doing and how to walk out or close that door safely.
Right.
Now, as far as involuntary, that goes back to what I said earlier, where you could be cursed, which I have my issues about that one as well. Being cursed by somebody, there again, there's other things like depression, sorrow, and all that, and being involuntary. I don't think those are actual doorways for possession because everybody deals with that.
Right.
Is everybody possessed? No. So I have my issues with those examples. So you want to tell them how they get into this?
Yeah. Evil spirits enter us through many ways. In some cases, evil spirits enter an apparent innocent victim or a victim held guilty by original sin. The victim may be an unborn baby who is cursed from the mother's womb. The curse can be original sin or from a jealous relative, friend, enemy, or the parents. In reality, there are no such thing as an innocent victim with regard to demonic possession. Excluding those victims' souls, God's allowed to be possessed and tormented for the sake of their own salvation and the salvation of others.
Now, keep in mind that's the teachings of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, because it says all unbaptized infants and adults are held guilty through original sin and under the dominion of the devil until they receive baptism.
See, the way I'm looking at it, okay? Again, here's one person's opinion. A child is without sin. A baby is without sin. They haven't committed any sin. They knew God before they were put here on earth.
Right.
And it even says that in the Bible. A child knows God before they come here. And who breathes life into a baby? It says it in the Bible. God does. So a child, a baby, is free of sin when it's born. So it's like the most holiest thing there is. How a person comes into sin is later on through life.
Right.
Learning to lie. Sin, right?
Right.
Learning to steal. These are things that we learn. A baby is free of sin when it's born. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's why I feel too.
So,
You got victims of demonic oppression, possession may also include children who are not loved, who are mistreated or abused, or rejection by other children, sibling, parents. The abuse can range from sexual abuse, mental abuse, and physical abuse.
there's a lot of people out there that this has happened to that aren't possessed. So,
Right.
me personally, I say we omit that. All right. Here's one thing I have messed with a good bit. You don't like at all.
No, I do not.
I have done the proverbial you don't do thing with this, and I've done it by myself. And that's a Ouija board. I have messed with it on my own. I've messed with them with friends. And that goes back to, if you do not know how to close that door, you're leaving a door wide open for a lot of things to happen.
Right.
And one thing you never do, never, there's two things I personally think you never do with a Ouija board. One, you don't ask for proof while you're on the board that you're talking to somebody. So if the board's moving, well, the planchette, not the board. So if the planchette's moving and you say, "Can you prove you're here?" Don't do that. You're opening a door that you cannot close. I don't care if you do everything in the world, you cannot close that door because you've already invited whatever in.
Right.
And the second thing is, and I've done this as an idiot, you don't mess with a Ouija board by yourself. I did that not knowing when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out you don't do that. And something else you don't do is you don't ask it personal things about yourself. That itself is inviting. That's a voluntary possession right there. Because if you start asking personal stuff about you or a close family member or something, you're giving it access to yourself.
Right. Yeah.
So, no, you stay away from that.
I mean, I stay away from it altogether.
I know.
I've never messed with it. Hopefully, don't plan on it.
Yeah, I've had some weird things happen with a Ouija board. And I'm not going to say it was demonic, but yeah, I can tell you they're not something to goof off with. Even they make it as a board game.
Right.
By Parker Brothers. It literally says a game for family, which, I mean, that could be the devil speaking, trying to get everybody enticed. But unless you know what you're doing, I'd just stay away from them.
Oh, getting a buzz.
No, nothing new.
I mean, other ways, the use of magic around evil spirits, psychic abilities, and contacting spirits. Using voodoo, sorcery, witchcraft, and not all witchcraft is bad.
No, you do have Wicca,
Right.
which is the light side
Right.
or the good side. For all you Star Wars fans, the light side.
Use of occult, new age tools such as crystal, divination, astrology, tarot cards, crystal balls.
Pendulums.
Yeah.
They even say that rune stones. And I actually have some of those. But,
I mean, this one here, it even says yoga.
yeah, I don't understand that.
Maybe that's how some people weird position. Okay, that
No, that was creepy right there.
all right. Hold on, I'm gonna have to take it. You can keep talking while I go fix
All
that.
right. Tell you what happened, guys. The reason we said that was creepy. We're sitting here talking, even yoga and all that, and the door to our office literally just opened up on its own. And now he's having problems shutting the door. That was creepy. That was fun.
That door not want to close.
Oh.
Oh, it's just weird that we were talking about it in there.
And the door opens on its own.
Yeah.
All right, Casper, shut the door. Letting the cold air out.
And I don't know if we said meditation.
Yeah.
Those who make a pact with Satan or attend satanic services or rituals.
Yeah. They say seances, fortune tellers, and horoscopes. I've been to a fortune teller. I read horoscopes. I'm not possessed.
I think it'd be cool to go to a seance, though.
I do too. I think that would be cool.
Yeah. But
Now, we're not saying run out and join a group for a seance. We're not saying that.
No.
We're just saying, on our perspective, Merle and I would like to go to one.
It's just because of what we do,
Some
It
people
just-
think they're fake. Some people
Yeah.
think they're real. I'd like to see if it's real, and if it's not, debunk it.
Right, yeah.
That goes back to, what was it, the 30s or 40s, where it was like the biggest thing to do. People would actually go to people's houses and do those. Was it?
I think it was like 40s.
Was it the
Yeah,
40s?
Yeah.
And it was like that
40s
was
and
the
early
end thing to
50s.
do.
Right.
You know.
And see, that's the thing, like, from where we are, we have fortune tellers and, like, palm readers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Spaced around. But I've never seen or heard of a place doing a seance around.
I haven't
us.
either. All right, this is one. I hate to say this, and they're saying that this is a form of possession. Now, people, oh Lord,
Well, it's not really a form of possession. It's how,
how to get possessed.
yeah.
I don't see this one, because sensual kissing and touching is a form of possession. I don't see that.
No.
Also, foreplay. Now, if you're thinking and I know a lot of people are going to get offended by this, and I'm trying to keep it clean. I don't know if you know where I'm fixing to go with this or not, but foreplay. If I'm with my wife and there's foreplay going on, I'm fixing to possess something, all right. And that's personal possession. That's not demonic possession.
Right.
That goes back to sensual kissing and touching. And it also says impure and illicit thoughts.
Well, see, and this is also, it tells you this comes from the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Contraception.
Yeah, Catholic Church is big about not
Using-
birth control
Yeah.
at all. Their thing is if you don't have a child while you're having sex with your spouse, then God did not think it was time for you. And if you do have a child, God gave you a gift. That's where they look at it.
And it says those who have an abortion. I mean, that's,
We're not even going to get in that
yeah.
subject. That's going to, no, I'm not, no.
And those who try to commit suicide or suicidal tendencies.
Right. And folks, I'm going to go back to, because he mentioned it. My personal thoughts is, I have nothing against abortion. Okay? If it's for a specific reason, besides, I just don't want this child, I believe that you should have the right to.
Right.
Now, if you don't want the child, put the child up for adoption. And that's my personal view on that. So,
I mean, I'm married to a medical professional, so it's
yeah.
my views are all over the place on that.
I tend not to get into political stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's an open door to a lot of discussion that I just don't want to get into.
The signs of demonic possession. I about said demonic depression.
Oh.
You got external pain.
You got diabolic possession.
It's the gravest form of demonic activity, which allows a continuing presence of a demon in a human body. Then you got diabolic oppression. It's a ransom discomfort.
You got
Diabolic obsession.
yeah, which is like a split personality. Diabolic infestation means it's directed toward places like houses, office, cars, pillows, dolls, animals, you name it.
And that's kind of like in, what was that? The Amityville stuff.
Amityville Horror.
Flies and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's also like the Dubik. I can't pronounce the word. The Dubik box.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's like that. The real Annabelle doll.
Right.
Another good example right there. What's another one? Amityville, Dubik, Annabelle. There's another one. Another famous. Oh, come on. Help me out, Merle. Are you looking it up?
I can't even think of it.
I can't either. All right.
You got diabolic subjugation. Did I say that right?
Yep.
The term indicates a voluntary pact, implicit or explicit, with Satan.
See, that goes back to...
Voluntary.
Yeah, that goes back to saying, oh, I can't take it anymore. You know, I'll just give my soul. Personally, I won't, but, you know.
Yeah. I mean, this stuff keeps going. How does one become possessed, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of information on that.
Divine permission. That's your voluntary
Yeah.
curse. You know, grave hardening of sin. Proximity to evil places or persons.
And then it says finding help. You got self-help, prayer, reading the books, getting away from the occult, you know, getting rid of Ouija boards, praying, all that's really good for self-help. And there's a lot of prayers out there as well that can help you, like the St. Michael Archangel prayer. There it says, and I'll actually read this one. It says, St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our defense against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of heavenly host, be the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen.
Okay, we had to kind of take a quick break there. Ever since we started talking about this, our equipment's been
Kinda.
functioning.
Yeah, we have brand new mics, and we haven't had any issues. And talking about this one particular one, we are now getting like a crackling, like somebody crunching up paper kind of sound.
Right.
Almost like a static kind of thing going through our mics and headphones. But yeah, there's a lot of prayer out there to help get your soul back right. And if it gets to the point where you're, I want to say, totally possessed, then getting help is very, very difficult, because the Catholic Church is not one to just openly admit possession.
Yeah.
And that leads us into our next little segment.
Do we want to go ahead and jump in?
Yeah, I say we just jump into the next one, because it kind of
Yeah, I mean, we're already 51 minutes in. Doesn't seem
I'll tell you
like
what.
it.
Let's do this. Let's make that our next podcast, because we're already 51 minutes in on this one.
Uh-huh.
Let's do our next, what we're fixing to talk about, as our next one.
I'm just going to give it a little...
And we'll, since we've already mentioned it, we'll just lead off. And guess everybody will just have to wait for our next subject on this, which is part 2.
Yeah.
We'll name it part 2
Part
of
two.
this.
Right.
And we'll end it there. This is part 1, possession. Part 2 will be our next one, because our time.
Yeah. Try to keep these right in an hour.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, if not, it takes forever to upload this stuff. And as you can, a lot of people started to see, we started adding these to YouTube also.
Yep.
And trying to add photographs and to create a slideshow or something like that in our video.
A little visual.
Yeah. It causes the files to be so large.
Yeah.
But,
It's all for you guys. It's all for you.
I mean, we have fun doing it, you know.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah. If it wasn't fun for us, you know, stuff that we were interested in, you know, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, me either.
Wouldn't be spending all this money on equipment. But, yeah, so I mean, I guess this is going to be the end of part 1.
Part 1. This is the first time we've done a 1 and 2 part.
It is, yes. Yeah, we never really thought we had a topic that was going to take us.
Yeah. I mean, we could keep going with this, but it's...
Yeah, I mean, we don't want a
There's so...
2-hour episode, you know?
No, and plus, I mean, we're not going to lend too much credence on this.
Right.
Too much speaking about it and giving it influence is not something I want to do on this subject. So...
All right, so...
Yep, we'll end it on that note. Tell everybody to look out for part 2 coming up. And let's do our usual.
Okay, so, well, we're going to end it there. Look out for part 2 coming up in the next couple weeks.
Yep.
So, like we always say, I'm Merle.
I'm Larry.
See you on the other side.